Minnesota Duluth last week. I know going into the game, you said that your defense was playing well in training camp, and that carried over into the game. They really kept you in that game, especially in the first half there. Just talk about the defensive unit and how they performed.
Yep, I really liked how intense they were. I thought we did a great job in the first half, keeping points off the board. We were put in some really difficult field positions, and I thought we really held up well. Guys were, they were coming off the sideline. I thought they were seeing things well. They had a great demeanor about them, and really felt good. Unfortunately, we gave up one right before half there, and it kind of, got us out of the momentum that we had been playing with there defensively. But what happens is you go into the second half and you got to be able to play complementary football. And offense struggled a little bit to be able to keep us off the field defensively and to move the chains and to get points on the board. And I think defensively there were some guys that we probably played quite a bit. And in a first game, sometimes you've got to be able to rotate guys to keep them a little bit more fresh. And just by nature, I thought they kind of wore down a little bit. But by and large, I thought they really did a lot of good things. And, as a coaching staff, you definitely want to challenge them. At the end of the day, their job is to keep the points off the board. So, they've got to make sure that they do that no matter what. They've got to get off the field quicker. And, they did a better job to respond this week. And they took great ownership in doing that.
How do you diagnose the offensive struggles? Where do you want to see improvement
Yeah.
in week two?
Yep. I think, we are young at certain positions there, which we've got to get those guys caught up to speed. I think we can be so much more aggressive and physical to come off the ball. I don't think we did that as well as what we could and should have done in week one. And it's been a great emphasis this week is just to be just so much more intense and to try to get off the ball faster and quicker. And I think part of that goes along with you go into week one and you have to kind of be in that action to try to figure it out a little bit. And I think a lot of those young guys, they had to experience that first game, get the jitters out, get the fast action out, and understand what they needed to do to do it better here for week two. And so week two, I think, is going to be a lot better. We've had a really good week of practice, and I'm expecting, much improvement.
Not having a vet like St. Piper out there, how does that kind of
Sure.
add on to the struggles when you're trying to get these new guys involved?
For sure. I think whenever you lose veteran voices on the field actively playing, for sure it affects a lot of people around him. Sam's done everything possible on the sideline to try to keep those guys going, but it obviously would be better if he was out there, being able to be in the action with them and trying to help coach him up while he's playing as well.
What's his status right now?
Yeah, he's kind of day to day, and we're just trying to make sure that he is completely healthy and feeling good before he comes back. Don't want him to tweak anything or have a setback again. And so he's really close to being back. He practiced this week a couple days, and so we're able to work him back in the mix. He probably will not go here this Saturday or this Thursday night, but he's gonna be real close to being ready to go.
You talk about the youth a lot, and you're very much in the thick of the growing pains.
Yeah.
I know you're very much looking forward to your guys getting experience and I guess the situation where they come out a little bit more confident. But just talk about that
Yep.
and just the room for growth that this team has currently.
Yeah, for sure. I think what comes to mind, Jake, is our guys are young and yet they really latch on to our coaching messages well. Um, the older guys that are in the program, the ones that do have experience, they've done a great job of mentoring and trying to help lead these guys, and they have reciprocated that. I feel really great about just how those young guys are maturing, and yet you want it to happen a lot quicker than what it is as a coach, right? You're on a week to week basis and you need it to happen really quickly in order to see the results. And so, I think with every rep, with every practice, even with every opportunity that we get to put them in scenarios and situations, I think they're going to grow and learn. And, you need to fail better, but obviously you don't want those failures to be able to stack up on game day, too much. And so, I think major improvement should come out of week two. And hopefully we can see some of those things. And I really want our team to be able to see the confidence and the belief of what we are capable of doing. And so, obviously to be able to experience some success on the field would be nice to be able to, give our guys a nice boost of morale. And I think those young kids could be able to respond really well to that.
I know a lot about Kentucky Wesleyan through basketball. I don't know a lot about them through football.
Mhm.
How long have these guys been playing football?
Yeah, I don't know the exact history, but I actually at my former place that I coached at, I played them twice. I was able to coach against them twice, and they're going to be athletic. I think they're going to be a team that they've got some pride. They put some players in the NFL actually, and they'll be ready for us. It's going to be their first week of playing, and so I think it gives us an advantage to actually have a game and to go into this as our game two, and it's going to be their game one. And so I look forward to our guys being able to put behind them the first game jitters. Now they can settle in a little bit more. Of course, we have to overcome the road trip. I think that's a little bit of a piece of adversity in and of itself, but we've talked all about that, and I think if our guys can handle that well, we got a chance to go in there, and they're going to be competitive, but I think we can really put up a good fight and compete well and to be able to experience success down there.
Are you just treating this as a short week, playing on Thursday and then playing on Thursday again,
Right.
and then throwing the travel in there? Or what's the
Yeah.
approach this week?
Yeah, it's a good question. We talk in the language of like today is Thursday when it's really Tuesday, right? Because we want to keep our game days on Saturdays in our thought process. But yeah, it is a short week because we leave today after practice, and we'll be spending 2 nights on the road, and then of course it's going to be a long trip back, and so we'll get back pretty late in the day on Friday as well. But yeah, I think a big part of the traveling challenge is that it's the way that you pitch it to your players. It's the way that your players view it and see it, and it's kind of how you have things planned out for them. We'll take plenty of breaks to break up the trip. We'll be very intentional with moving them around. We've got a good schedule for them to make sure that they're getting plenty of rest and recovery. And I think we've got a good day for them planned out on game day too. We don't play until at night, and so it gives them an opportunity to still get caught up to speed and be able to still get coaching and do some meetings and some things that we can do during the day before we play that night. And so I think, as long as our guys can see it in a good way and approach it the right way, and our coaches can set that tone, we should be able to go down there and keep things pretty status quo and be able to play our best for 4 quarters. Thank you.
Outside of Sam, everybody's reasonably healthy.
Reasonably healthy is a great way to put it. I would say, there's kind of a couple guys here and there that we're hoping to get back soon that we think can maybe start to compete to work themselves back into the mix. But yeah, Sam should be back next week, like I said, and then we do have a running back that we're expecting to get back next week as well. And so, yeah, I think it's one of those things where you get in season and you're just trying to play week to week and trying to minimize the injuries as much as possible and keep guys healthy. And some of that's completely out of your control, obviously. And so you just try to limp guys along a little bit and try to hopefully have other guys step up to be able to replace them as much as possible.
Obviously, last season didn't necessarily live up to your program standards, and I know you had mentioned this is a year to reestablish your program. Can you talk about that mentality a little bit?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm familiar with it, right? We won the conference in 2020, 2021, and then that following fall had a little bit of a letdown. Kind of picked ourselves back up in 22, established ourselves as an NCAA tournament team, and then kind of had that letdown again. And so uh, the positive is we know what we have to do. The negative is we're creating a trend of up, down, up, down. We got to kind of break that habit. I think it will be easy is the wrong word. I think we're capable of this challenge because we had such a huge freshman class last year. We had eight athletes that now have an entire year's worth of experience, and so I expect them to be ready to go, and they've proven it. We've only been at it for 2 weeks, but the growth we've had even in those 2 weeks has been really good. And knowing that the bottom of our conference is really raised, so the historical teams that have ended up near the bottom, Lake State, Purdue Northwest, especially. They have really found a way to improve their program. So we're going to have to be ready for that test every night. But that's also what makes our conference fun, is you have to show up every night. I think we have the talent, especially with the two fifth-year seniors and Jackie Smith and Megan Meyer, to help lead us kind of to that next level.
So how valuable is it to have those two leaders, fifth years?
This fly is going to drive me crazy. I'm sorry. I got like Mike Pence in the vice presidential debate. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. Sorry. Go ahead.
Here, how valuable is it to have Megan and Jackie as your leaders? Like I said,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as human beings, they're great in terms of their leadership and their demeanor. But as athletes, I mean, second to none for their position. Jackie is, on pace to break the all-time kills record here at Northern. Megan has been a leader in terms of hitting percentage, not only on our team, but in the conference pretty regularly. And so having those kind of two pillars to our offense really is going to help. And now the hope is that their level of play is going to raise everyone around them. Jackie, she was dealing with injuries all last year. So even at the end of the year, she was still kind of at 65%. And so now to have her back, healthy, I think it's really going to help everyone else around us. Now we can't just rely on them, right? We saw what happened last year when we were just like, we need to get Jackie in there. And so everyone needs to kind of raise their level. And I think Allie Barlow, our setter, who's going to be playing for us this year, is that in that mold. She's the one we want talking on the floor. She's the one we want leading the floor, even when Megan and Jackie are out there. So that kind of says a lot about her maturity. And so I expect a lot of things to be run through her this fall. So I'm really excited to watch that kind of shape. But in terms of Jackie and Megan, just invaluable to have their experience out on the floor. They've been a part of winning championships. They've been a part of playing in the biggest matches in this program. So just excited to have them back and healthy.
How do you go from preseason not playing in matches at all and then having a later weekend here? How was your approach in practice this week?
Yeah. I think what we try really hard to do is remind everyone that everyone's in that same boat, right? Nobody has recent film from any team. Um, God, guys. No one has recent film, and we did get some scrimmages. So we scrimmaged Winona State and Michigan Tech, who Winona State is receiving votes in the national poll. Michigan Tech is kind of the bar we compare ourselves to. We've both been pretty good in the last, couple years, and so I feel good about where we're at. And really, I was just doing film with a player before this press conference here, and I was saying we can't lose sight of what our goal is, which is to be playing great volleyball in November based on what happens now, right? I think we're good. I think we're going to win. But ultimately, we want to be playing in big matches November. And so kind of keeping that in mind as we kind of truck through season is important.
Who else should be kind of raising their level, be into the lineup on a regular basis?
Yeah, it is a lot of the familiar suspects. From a defensive standpoint, Lisa Haugen, who was our libero near the end of the year, and Kaylee Barlage are both going to be kind of doing that. Our biggest thing is what's going to happen with the player playing opposite Jackie. So we have Jackie as our number one outside. Our second outside is really a work in progress and figuring it out. It's not a bad thing. It just means a lot of people are competing for that spot. Sydney Bartles, a sophomore outside, has been doing a really nice job in the back row. So I expect she's going to be playing quite a bit in the back row for us throughout this fall. Kenzie Gruner, who was kind of in and out of the lineup last fall, is establishing herself as a dominant force, but Olivia Weber, who's senior, who's right behind her. So the hope is that not it's a revolving door, but multiple people are getting opportunities for the right reasons, not because other people are struggling, but because they're proving themselves worthy of those opportunities. So I'm hoping, when we meet every week, you're going to say, "Hey, we didn't really see that person until this weekend, but they did great. What do you think?" That's the hope, how the conversation goes. But right now, it's a dogfight, and for every team, things are typically pretty good until you put that first lineup out there. And you put that first lineup out there, and everyone starts to evaluate where they are in the depth chart, where their opportunities are going to come in. And so for us as a staff and as a team, is just managing that side of things where people aren't playing. And we have a roster of 20 people. So do the math. When 6 people are on, 14 people are not, right? And how do we stay together and understand the bigger picture of what success is for them in that moment, right? It's being the best teammate and being ready if their number is called. And so we're going to have to manage that, but so far so good. The energy's high. The attitudes have been really positive and eager to learn. So we're just going to kind of ride this wave as long as we possibly can.
You mentioned no one has recent film, but even any of your opponents will know that, Jackie's going to be your number one hitter.
Yeah.
They're going to key in on her. How does that, kind of affect your game plan and how you put rotations out there, knowing that your opponents know
Yeah.
who your number one is?
Yep. And that's, we've dealt with Jackie has been our go-to player for 4 years now, going into her fifth year of this. So we've really, worked at the biggest thing we can do, and we're working on it a little bit in this preseason is moving Jackie around. So doing things that other teams have never seen Jackie do. And she is so athletic, she can do pretty much anything. And so we're manipulating the lineup in ways and you can really get into the weeds with volleyball and how rotations work and how you can manipulate rotations to put players in positions that maybe they aren't used to being in or is would be surprising to an opponent. And so we're really working on that. We're really thinking outside the box in that way. And the other thing we have to be aware of is teams will try to break Jackie down by serving her. So they'll serve her every ball because not only is that physically taxing doing that, but mentally, every time you're in service receive, when you know they're serving you, that can be draining too. So we're trying to find ways to hide Jackie in service receive so she can kind of take those mental breaks for moments. And then ultimately, if we find ourselves in positions where we're having success or other people have proven themselves, we're going to give Jackie more breaks this year than we ever have. Again, playing that same idea of we need Jackie to be the best version of herself in November. And being a fifth year senior, a go-to player that's taken thousands upon thousands of swings, not only in college, but in high school. We just really have to manage her workload throughout the week and then throughout the season, even in matches where, they're important.
What'd you learn about running here at the Dome?
Some good things. We had some great, great early season performances, and a bunch of my athletes that came back are definitely fit. A couple of the ones from last year made over a minute improvements from last year, which is really big in a 5K race. So definitely have a lot of depth on the team. So some great returners, and then some great freshmen coming in that came in.
How have you guys been building up to the start of the season? How do you make sure, your athletes are meeting those check marks as you go through the off season, preseason, now that it's here and it's time to compete?
Yeah. Well, they all had a good summer training. Sent them some guidelines to follow, and I can tell they did. So that was good. And now, just we had a good preseason week with that early dome, scrimmage, which was great. Some great training. They're doing strength training twice a week, and then also the workouts. And we've had a few good workouts, that hard workouts, a hill workout. Now we're gonna do a hard one today, so that'll also give me another idea. But a couple hard workouts a week, and then start traveling, start competing, and just keep them healthy. Make sure we're doing all the extra things to stay ready to go.
Talk about some of those key returners. Is it Gianna and Skylar? Two that you're going to be obviously leaning on this season?
Yeah, well, Maddie Shemansky is the top one. She went to the national championships last year, and then Gianna is returner, and she came back fit too. So exciting to see what she can do. Skylar's a senior, and then we have the couple that I said that were this past year were maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, but they have made some big improvements over the summer. So they'll jump right in, and then we have a couple freshmen that are right there pushing them. So we should be an exciting year.
Is Lola Corby one of those freshmen?
Yeah,
How's she transitioned?
Yeah, so Lola, it's exciting to have her on the team. She's really really positive, and she's super happy because this is her first time really having a team. Because she kind of has been by herself leading all the races, and she actually talked her sister into coming out last year for cross country so she could have somebody else on the team. So I was a little worried about her coming in, because she was so used to like being out in front, but she just has jumped right in and been a great teammate and really embracing being able to work with other athletes that are as good or better than her. So yeah, she's definitely right there in the top pushing the top 7. So it'll be interesting as she learns too to train and race with a team. What she's going to do this year, and then of course the years beyond. She's a super hard worker and very positive, and so the team is just really great atmosphere right now, great culture. So exciting year ahead.
Knowing Maddie's kind of at the top and setting the standard, how does she make all of her teammates better? How have you witnessed that during her time where she kind of elevates everyone else?
Yeah, you're definitely right. She pulls everybody up to her, and she's also is a very good teammate. Very supportive. I mean, at that scrimmage, she turned around and waited and cheered everybody, all the rest of the teammates on, and she's right in there, making sure everybody's the new athletes are involved with everything. And so, I think just her positive attitude and her work ethic, and she takes care of all the little things, so they're all learning from her. And they all realize how important all that is, and yeah, they're just doing a great job. But she does a great job of being a leader, kind of a quiet leader, but definitely leader.
Right. I know you
Yeah.
guys made a lot of changes in the offseason.
Which-
Just how's it gone, implementing your coaching style to these new guys that are coming in and the guys that are coming back?
Yeah.
Some key contributors as well, how have they
For
kind of ushered them in and told them, how things are?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll start with the returners. I think, our path to where we are today started at the end of last season, and we knew we needed to get better, both in terms of our personnel, but just our mentality. We needed to be tougher. We needed to be more disciplined. So that's the work we did in the off season in the wintertime. So where we are today in terms of our culture is attributed to the work that the returners did in the winter semester, and they've been fantastic. It's led obviously by Tommaso Lamy, who's returned and is now our captain, but also the other guys. Ali Shilanga has been fantastic. Jan Hoffman's back as well. He was sort of our Iron Man last year. So they're now the leaders. It's now their voices in charge, and it wasn't that way previously. So they've done a fantastic job of, like you said, ushering in a whole lot of new quality, talented, but young players that haven't played college soccer yet, haven't played in the GLIAC, haven't been on a road trip yet. So they've done a fantastic job of bringing them in, making them feel welcome, but also setting a pretty high standard of what the expectations are. So, and that's kind of what preseason's been about.
Yeah. When you go through a season like last year,
Yeah.
the record doesn't look good, but it was so
Yeah.
many just one goal games.
Yeah.
And how do you kind of move on from that and learn from it?
Yeah.
What did you learn from last year?
Well, we learned that we maybe weren't as complete in the leadership culture realm that I think we thought we were. And so part of it was just looking at ourselves and figuring how we can better um, convey our standards, especially defensively. I think that's the biggest key is we're going to be a possession-based team. We want to have the ball. That's how we play. But you can't have the ball if you're not winning it. And you can't have the ball if you're not fighting to go win it back. And so our mentality defensively was poor. And so the whole winter semester was not, can we possess more? Can we find more shots? Can we work on our finishing game? We didn't score many goals last year. You would think that's all we'd be working on. But no, what we were working on was specifically the moment when we lose the ball. What's the reaction? What's the response? Are you looking for the sky for the answers? Are you tying your shoe because it was untied? Are you looking at the field? Or are you responding right away, winning the ball back? And that's our new mentality. And that was the most important for us to get across in the winter semester. So I think when you have a season like mine, I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer there's going to be a ton of answers from coaches that go through that. I think you just got to put your head down and work. And that's what we've done.
It's just early on in the season. What are you hoping to see from your team in these first few matches?
What I'm looking to see is, again, how we manage the difficult scenarios and situations that come up in individual matches, on road trips, the balance of school and soccer all at once. I'm looking for their response. I'm looking to see what the spirit's like. Of course, we want to win the game. That's what we're going to try to do on Thursday. We're going to go and try to win a soccer game, and that's it. But the most important thing to me at the end of the game is going to be, where was our spirit? Where was our passion? What was the camaraderie like on the sideline? Are we up for this for the next 8 weeks? I think that's what I'm going to be looking for. Obviously, we want to get the result, but I'm going to check the spirit first after the match and see where we are.
Anyone that has maybe surprised you early in practice or?
There's a lot of guys, so I don't want to go through the whole list, but what I will say is some of the new players, whether they're freshmen or transfers, have really adapted very quickly to our style of play on the ball. Some guys were coming in, taking 16, 17 touches when they got it, and now they're taking 2. So we've seen a huge what we call sort of a transfer of information in the last 10 days, 14 days of preseason. So, but what sticks out the most is that they're all fit. They've come in fit. We've played 4 90-minute matches. We've got no soft tissue injuries. Everybody's made it through preseason without having any, major pulls. And that tells me that they came in ready and fit, which tells us again that they're focused, they're hungry, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder.
You bring in guys from all over, whether it's in the U.S. or
Right.
internationally. You're
Yep.
dealing with different styles.
For sure.
of soccer.
Yeah.
How do you actually implement, like, this is how NMU
Yeah.
can play soccer in 2024?
Yeah, no, it's a challenge for sure. I think most soccer players from abroad want to play possession based, so I think that excites them. There's a lot of direct play at our level, but I think part of it is certainly the implementation of our tactics and presentations and working through those things in training and practice. But for them to buy in and to say, this is how I want to, this is who I want to play for, this is how I want to do it, you have to go back to the culture, right? Because they may be coming off the field confused on what I'm asking them to do the first time they see it. Well, they're gonna, if they have a good culture, and if Tommaso, creates a good environment for new players, younger players, underclassmen to come to and say, hey, how do we fix this? Then I think that's going to get some of those, what you say, changing culture aspects away with quicker. So I think it comes down to our culture, our leadership, and just the fact that we're just a really, really close team. We're really involved, and we don't let things kind of hang out there. We deal with them right away. So, but there's never an exact science to it. It's always going to be different. Athletes are different. People are different. Cultures are different. And I think that's the fun part, right? Is to see what you have and see how these guys mature.
This weekend, the matches you have,
Yeah.
what do you know about your opponents, and how do you make sure you get off on the right foot?
For sure. Well, Northwood, we know pretty well. Quincy, we know pretty well because we played them. So I'm gonna expect sort of the same from them. But it's the beginning of the season, so everybody's up for it. Everybody's fit. Everybody's ready to go. So for us, it's going to be more of how we approached our preseason games and being organized, disciplined, and be ready for defensive transition. The attacking stuff will come. It will get better the more we're on the ball, the longer we are able to go through the season. But right now, it's about our defensive bite. Can we go and make sure that we're the dominant team from the first whistle? That's what we've been practicing, and that's what we're going to try to implement on Thursday.
Start of a new season, all the success you had last year. How do you keep a championship level expectation? How do you keep the bar up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we change much of anything, or if we look, so much ahead of what we're doing right now, and I keep getting asked that question is like, how do you continue to have success, and how does the team keep winning? And I think it's really just staying to our principles and the things that got us to this point to begin with. So, and I think a lot of, outside individuals have spoken about pressure and all these things. And I don't think this group feels it. I mean, we've been through this before and have understood that with how tough our non-conference schedule is and how tough the GLIAC is, to look anything past one game would be a huge mistake on our part. So I think the way that we continue to build on things is to continue to do the things that we have done really well. And that is train hard, play for each other, and continue to just embrace the chip that we have here at Northern Michigan.
Pretty special senior class you have right now. Can you talk about that group as a whole?
Oh, I'll talk about them as a whole because there's about 13 or 14 of them. So it'd be very difficult to talk about them as an individual because there's a lot of them. And it's a very special class. As you've mentioned, I think about, reflecting on this last summer and thinking about where the program has been and where we are today. And you can't talk about that without mentioning this class. This was the first full recruiting class that I had because COVID threw the wrench in some things, but being able to evaluate in full for a large part of a year. And right now, they're all mentioning that they're trying to soak up the moment as much as they possibly can. And I'm taking that advice. I'm trying to soak it all up with these last few months with this amazing class that has broke through the wall and got us to areas and places that we never thought we could get there. And when I say that, I think they always knew. they always knew that they could get there and to accomplish these goals. And the amount of work, dedication, and sacrifice that this class has been able to do for us will never be forgotten. The plaques and the banners will never go away, and this class will hold a very special place in my heart for those reasons. But more importantly, they're going to hold that special place because of watching them grow up as people and mature and figure out what they want to do with their lives and the next step of their career paths. And it's been great to watch them grow as people.
And thinking about Molly, everything she's been able to do, racking the stats. And obviously, people knew about her last year after being, freshman of the year in the conference, and then she backs that up as a sophomore, with another incredible season. What impresses you most about how she's been able to keep building throughout her career?
Her composure. So, and I know that's maybe not the best word to look at it, but the way that I mentioned to Molly at the end of last year was, did you feel pressure? And she was like, yeah, I did. I felt a lot of pressure because of like at times, she had to pick us up. And when you're a sophomore and you're 19, 20 years old, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you continue to show up and to perform and to execute, that's a difficult task. And then you add in the social aspects of it, the academic aspects of it, just the day-to-day changes that happen to college students at this age, and to go through those things and to go through the ringer and to have that success and to deal with that amount of pressure at that young of an age is nothing short of amazing. And the thing that I think that she's looking forward to this year is we've got Justina back. We've got some real major weapons back. And so now she's not going to feel, I think, that pressure as much as she did this year. I think she's excited to have some major weapons accompanying her. And at the same time, like, as we've mentioned during Molly's first year, you start to focus a little bit on Molly, Justina will hurt you. You start to focus on Justina, Brooke will hurt you. You start to go too much. Our scoring last year was really spread apart outside of Molly, and I think that shows us that we have the ability to score in a lot of different ways. And the way that you do that is you got to find ways to be successful early on and to build that confidence. So Molly is also an ultimate team player. She's emerging as a leader right now, and watching that growth over the last few years and take on a more vocal presence has been also really cool to see.
What do you want to see from your team this weekend? Obviously, first game of the year. Everyone's fresh for the most part. What do you want to see out there that will maybe encourage you to going through to start the season?
I would say progress and grit. And the way and what I mean by progress is, nobody starts off playing your best soccer, and the goal of ours is to play it, somewhere in October. And anytime you play in the first weekend, it's a dogfight. It's gritty. It's not pretty. And to be able to deal with those moments and find success is going to be important for us. So I want our team to get better, progress, and then I want a team that's going to be real gritty this year and to be able to fight and still play for each other like we've done over the last few years. Because when you can fight and you love the person next to that you're playing with, you can find success. And so when you do those things, we're going to progress and we're going to show that we've got hopefully a lot of grit and determination in us.
You've been here a few years now, and obviously standards change. In terms of set pieces, how many do you usually start with, and do you kind of build those up during the year, or you just keep a certain number? Or does that depend on personnel?
It depends on a lot of things, and obviously set pieces are very important. And what we want to do within our set pieces is find ways to be unpredictable. So the set pieces that we do this weekend will be different in 2 weeks, and the set pieces we did last year, they're not existent. They don't exist anymore. And so I think it's really important is to not show your cards too often and too early. And so that's the way that we kind of approach set pieces offensively, is trying to mix it up and to be unpredictable in what we're going to do. And then on the flip side, defensively, we just understand how important they are. And so we got to make sure that we do our job, and the best way to do that sometimes is to continue to watch film after practice and tape our practices to see if we're doing our jobs in training. Because if you don't do the job in training, you're not going to do it in the match. Everything I think is a result from training and the way that we prepare week to week for the weekends.